Fall is in the air, so it's time to start your fall gardening. And today I'm going to be showing you some of the things that you can plant, as well as some of the chores that you should be doing at this time. And if this is your first time here, my name is Marlene. Welcome to Marlene's How-Tos, my home and garden channel. I just love the changing of the colors of the leaves for the fall season. And so we're going to show you step by step how we go ahead and organize our garden for fall, as well as to have plants that last through winter and early spring bloomers. So right here, what we do first is to gather our seeds. That's the first thing that we typically do. These are some marigolds right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip off the spent blooms that are there. I'm using my pruners right here. You can just snip them off with your fingers if you like. And what I want to make sure to do is to make sure that they are dry, so that way they don't rot. Because next year I'm planning not to buy any marigolds. I just want to sow the seeds early in the spring indoors and then transplant them out once the weather warms up enough. And that way I'll save myself some money. And this is what they look like. You can always separate them out if you like, or you can just leave the compact head until you're ready to plant them. The main thing is to make sure that they are dry, and that's why I put them on the paper towel and just leave them out for a few more days, in a secure spot, to make sure that that actually happens. And you can put them in a brown paper bag if you like. You always want to make sure that you, of course, put your labels on there, and that way you know what's in each bag, especially, depending on what type of seeds they are. What I also like to do, though, is I like to sometimes use like the little sandwich bags, because I can see right through it and I just write the name right there. But what I do with those is that I actually get the paper towel and put in there, so that way I know that it won't rot in there in the plastic bag. So you can see I wrote marigold on that one. So we're all set to go there. Over here, these are some cone flowers. And basically at this time, you're going to be cutting back your perennial flowers as well, like these cone flowers. And I'm going to be saving some of the seed heads as well here too. And if you like, you can even use some of them sometimes for like dried arrangements for, like your little fall designs. And then, just go ahead and store them as best as you like. Now, what I do here is when I take all of them off together like this, I sometimes separate the more dried ones. Sometimes I'll just have them all stay in the same spot until they're all dry. And then I go ahead and package them in a large bag and take the leaves off. Over here, what you want to do also too is to reap your herbs that are not going to be able to survive the cold, like this thyme right here. I just go in and I snip them off. And some of them I freeze them, some of them I'll dry them and then store them that way. The next thing is to go in and cut back all of the spring bulbs that are able to survive the cold weather, like these gladiolus. Now, if you're in an area where it gets really, really cold, then you may have to dig them out. I'm in zone 8, so I'm pretty much okay with that. So I just go in and I cut them back, and sometimes you'll even see a few dry parts just come off in your hand when you're doing it, but they're pretty much good to go. And that way you know that next spring you'll have beautiful gladiolus coming up again, and they'll be gorgeous for you. And these are actually late spring bloomers. I just love that color. The next thing that we typically do is to look to see if there are any stray weeds here or there. And then we go in and we use a grandpa weeder. And I did a previous video showing you how effective this tool was. We absolutely loved it. And it prevents you from having to bend over and all of that. So it preserves your back. It works really well. And you can see that when it pulls up the plant, that the roots come up as well. So that way you don't have to worry that it's going to go and spread any further. And you can knock some of the soil off as well. So we actually like it, and I definitely recommend it. Now, the fall can be mushroom season sometimes. This is a monstrosity that we saw in the garden. I don't even know where it came from. I have never seen one like this in my garden before, so it was quite a surprise. My younger son is actually the one who discovered it first, and he called and he showed it to me. So, of course, I had to go in and get it taken out. And now, if you are allergic to like mold spores, like you have allergies in the fall season, I would recommend that you do what I did, which is basically to just put a little mask, a face mask on, and go ahead and dig it up and take it out of the ground and then dispose of it. And what I did was to basically put it in a plastic bag here and then just tie the bag and go ahead and dump it in the trash can. The next thing is raking of the leaves. If you don't have a lot of leaves, then maybe a rake might work for you. But because we have a lot of trees behind our yard, we basically go in and we just get the leaf blower. This is my husband using it right there. And I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description box below where you can get this on Amazon if that's something that you think would work for you. But we definitely go in and we do it periodically. We don't just, have all of them piling up at one time, because it's good to pace yourself that way. The next thing is your lawn. To get your lawn cut, you basically want to put your lawnmower, typically they say half an inch below the normal height that you would do it at. So right here, this is my son adjusting it and making sure that it's working before we go ahead. So you'll want to go in and mow your lawn one or two last times before the first hard frost. And that way they're at a good height and they'll stay that way over the season. The next thing that we typically do is to mulch our flower beds and our containers. And this actually adds like a little blanket over your plants. It also helps it to make it look a lot neater and nicer. And this will last right into spring and perhaps even into fall of the next year. So it helps to insulate your plants, keep them warm in the colder weather. And you can use different colored mulch if you want. Then the next thing we do is our tropical plants like this croton right here. These plants are not really good for temperatures when they go below 50 degrees, but for the time in the fall where it's a little bit higher, I'll go in and give them like a little rinse, wash some of the dust off of there. Sometimes you may even see cobwebs here or there, depending on what's going on your porch or wherever you have them. And this refreshes the plant and it just gives them like, a good ability to breathe better. The next thing we do is to go in and get some chrysanthemums. Sometimes I'll have some that came from a previous year, or I'll just go in and get some other ones and repot them, put them in a larger container. And this helps them to survive better. The more insulation they have around them, with more soil that is, the better it is for them. The next thing is planting bulbs. These right here are some daffodil bulbs. You can also plant tulips like I did right here. And of course, you want to do these before the first hard freeze, because once the ground is hard like that, it's going to be difficult to go in and work the soil. Not impossible, but not the best thing for them. And of course, you can just pop into your garden center and see what different types they have available. They typically have the ones that work better for your area, and they're usually out there in time for you as well too. These right here, these are some crocus. These ones tend to be shorter. They're not as high as some of the other bulbs, but they are deer resistant. Deer doesn't like them, so they don't like them. So if you have deer in your area, that's a good choice. Tulips are another good one, but deer love those, so not the best choice in that situation. So you can see all the different types that are available. And the next thing is to start planting your cool weather plants like these pansies right here. These are definitely a favorite of mine because they stand up so well to the cold weather. I've seen them survive even as low as 20 degrees. So, they're pretty hardy and they do last right over into the spring. And they just get better and better as more time goes by. And just to say that if you love flowers, you love gardening topics and tips, and you just wanted to follow along to see what I'm doing next in my garden or with my house plants, be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap on the notification bell twice so that you never miss an upload. You can check on my short videos, my live videos, any past ones that you like. Now, bear in mind, guys, that you can actually mix and match your bulbs and your cool weather flowers. And I'll be doing some container gardening videos coming up to give you some more examples of different types that you can do. The next thing is your bird feeders. It's a good time to go in and check them, see if there's any damage like this one right here. Actually, a squirrel bit into that. I just couldn't even believe that, they actually would do something like that. So it was time to just go in and replace it. So I'm going to get this newer one right here. And what I plan to do is just to get some clear spray paint and just spray over it so it's going to be able to stand up better to the weather. Hopefully they won't bother this one. And of course, we'll, stock up on your seeds for your birds because they're going to be really hungry during the colder months of the year. These are some black seed oil seeds that I have there. Now, if your hummingbirds are still coming, you'll want to keep changing the food in your hummingbird feeder. But if you don't see any more around, that means they've already migrated further south. So you'll basically just want to clean it and put it away until next spring when they return. Another fun thing that we can do is to actually decorate our porch, which I did here in a previous video. And I'm going to link it at the end for you so that way you can see how we did it and, how much fun we had, and hopefully give you some great ideas for yours. So I'd love to see your comments on, whatever information you saw here that might help you with your autumn gardening. Also, be sure to remember to clean your tools as well. Oil them, dry them off, and store them in a nice, cool, dry place so they'll be ready for you for the next season. So thanks for stopping by. Share this with those who you think might want this information. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Take care and happy fall gardening.